food energetics is a full branch of Chinese medicine. It is considered an equal branch with acupuncture, with herbal medicine, with Tui Na, with all the various branches, obviously massage therapy, which should rise to a full branch of Chinese medicine if done deeply and well. Aromatherapy, stone therapy, meditation, healing meditation work. It's in a sense limitless. And in the classics, it's said, they say this about everything, of course, but that the superior physician, which I don't consider myself superior, I consider myself a colleague, we're all in it together. But the superior physician uses food as medicine. Only, this is from in the Neijing, but also more particularly from Sun Sima, one of the so-called gods of Chinese medicine from the 562 to 662, I believe his dates. Off the top of my head, he lived to be 101 years old. His message was, a patient comes in, treat them with food. Only if that fails do we then reach for acupuncture or herbs. So it's a beautiful thing to say. It's really, really inspired. And so, yes, on the one hand, we have a warning in a sense that, like acupuncture and herbs, you can go to school. I mean, you can't really go to school for Chinese dietary medicine, but we have to just pick it up through various teachings. It's not casually, but it's often, it starts on the side in a sense. And so that's why I'm disappointed not coming to Melbourne and Sydney in was it July? It was supposed to be. But we'll do it another time. We'll do it next year or something like that. But in any case, it does take about 10 years, that's the teaching, to use food as medicine in a full sense, about 10-year study. And I'm in about 20 or 30 years of this. And I would say that 10 is not bad. If you can do it in 10, awesome. But in any case, that would be in a sense, and then we could liken it to something else that's famously difficult, like playing violin or something like that. You say, oh, I've been playing for 10 years. But that's not going to put you on the world stage. That's a really nice thing to play violin for 10 years. You could be really, really good, but you're not what we're talking about in terms of your skills with acupuncture and herbs. So in any case, that being said, that being on the table, what I really feel is that diet is the branch of Chinese medicine that we all are practicing, whether we want to or not, whether we know we are or not. Food energetics are playing in your daily life several times a day. If you're fasting, they're also playing. So this is what we're all doing. Most people don't play with needles at home. Most people don't play with medicinal herbs at home, but everyone is using food. So it's not the kind of thing where we would say, well, look, unless I'm really, really well trained, I don't want to mess with food as medicine. I'm sorry, we are in the game, which is the good news. And it also means that this is two things before we get into some more details. It means that we are, in fact, using Chinese medicine. We can begin in the kitchen. So it's a great branch of the medicine that we can use, each person in their home and in restaurants. Now that you guys in Australia are beginning to open cafes and restaurants, as you order in restaurants, you're also engaging in Chinese medicine. But what's interesting here is that it is a legitimate, full-on, intellectually rigorous branch of medicine. So we have these two things, expertise and our beginning status, or many of you I would consider experts, by the way, in dietary medicine already. So it is the medicine that we can all enter on, and we should not wait. We should not think, unless I can master this, I really don't want to play. And that might be the case, certainly the case with medicinal herbs, Chinese herbs. But it's not the case with food. Everyone should feel that they can come in. This is one of my personal missions, is to raise the home cook to the status, the proper status of director of family health. If you're living alone, I'm working with a lot of my students, a lot of my clients are still, sheltering, quarantining, isolating here in America, alone. Many of them in New York City are living, in small apartments alone. But you're the director of your health. Now, what does that mean for the acupuncturist and Western practitioner? It means that we use them wisely, and here I'm sharing our caps, our uniform symbolized by a hat, which we're not actually wearing. But if we're wearing our Chinese medicine, dietary medicine hats, it is the primary medical treatment you get every day is your diet. If you go to a Western physician, if you go to an acupuncturist, herbalist, if you go to a naturopath, if you go to any health professional, the treatments they offer to you will be more or less successful depending on the diet with which you back them up. And that, I would say, holds for every treatment. It could be something for your toenail. Diet is important. It could be, and today, a client who's recovering from cancer under Western care, doing rather well. Rocky road, of course, but doing quite well. I think it's going well. They were like, well, I'm here, we're talking, but do you really think this is important for me compared to the strength of the medications I've had? I said, this is the make or break. This is where the rubber hits the road. Are you willing, in other words, are you willing to make changes? And in America, perhaps you might have heard a little bit of the news wafting over the seas from America. There's a movement of change here. In my personal opinion, is that it was started not by social unrest, but by a virus wafting across the world. A virus is a catalyst for change. And when something really, really needs to change, it's going to be hard to hold it back. So the question then is, for personal health, we all have our ups and downs. We all have our issues. Me, you, everyone, we all have some degree of illness, some degree of health in varying degrees. The odds are in our favor, by the way, because we are here, we are alive. That means our life force is overpowering any of our challenges. So we should think positively. We are winning the game. But in any case, if we want to make a personal change, one thing that I'm tempted to say it's the best way, but actually it's required to change your diet. If you say, and I'm coming on a little bit strong, but hopefully lovingly strongly, what's the adjective of all that? So lovingly, strongly. What I mean here is, this is an opportunity to change, to float a boat from shore. In other words, if you think of yourself with the very, very simplistic analogy of a boat, pleasure boat perhaps, and you're tied to the shore, you're tied to the dock. And the waves come in, the tides come in, and the boat goes up and down, but it's tied. And that's what life is for most of us. The question is, if we get ill, do we want to stay moored to our habits, to our conditions, to our status quo? Or are we willing, are we eager to go someplace? We need to make a change. And the strongest way you can make a change and signal that to your body is a change in diet. Because medicine is about sending signals. We could even look at Western meds that way if we wanted to. That would be another talk, and maybe I'm not qualified, but it would be an interesting discussion. And what are the signals? So certainly, we'll talk about something I know a little bit about diet. Diet sends signals to your body. And if we eat a repetitive diet, it does reach a medicinal dose. So the popcorn that we have 5 nights out of 7, is a medicinal dose of popcorn. And popcorn is very different than, say, polenta or fresh corn off the cob, corn niblets, you might say, or grits that they have in America, or something, or cornbread, some things like this. They're very, very different based on how they're grown, different types of corn, of course, but how they're cooked. And so that message is the food itself and the cooking method. And I guess the way you gobble it up or not, or all those things, chewing, of course, extremely important. Do you breathe when you eat? Things like this, very, very important. But let's take things one at a time. If we want to enact healing, we need to send a message to the body. We want to change course. And we can do that a number of ways. You can change relationships. You can enter a relationship. You can put an ad up online or something. You could change the partner you're with. You could move houses if you're living in a damp, moldy place, for example. Or you always want it to be by the sea, but you're on Brunswick Street instead or something like that. I guess you could move. And those are ways to make a change. But diet is the most powerful. Of course, exercise, meditation, therapy, also very, very important. But if you're working with your therapist and they say, wow, I've been doing this for a long time, I think I'm sort of in a rut, change your diet. It sends a signal to your system on the physical level, the energetic level, and the spiritual level. Those are our three levels, Jing, Qi, Shen, as the three treasures sunbow. Okay, so if it's not just about illness, however, we could just want to change course, to use the boat analogy again. Maybe we feel tied to the dock and we want to sail. It's time to go forward. You want to start a business. You want to, it's time to blossom. You feel in your life, it's simply time to blossom. I've been in acupuncture school for so long and I've been out for 5 years and I still say I'm a beginner, I'm a very, very humble person. Or I've been out for 30 years and I still say I'm a beginner. Actually, that I want to study with you actually. But in any case, maybe you just want to make a change. You think, I need to change careers. No, you need to change what's your internal path. Maybe a career too. But we don't need to change external things. And diet is like breath to the meditators. If we were speaking in a more meditative context, we'd be talking about breath. Breath is something we take in from the outside world. It comes in through the lungs. The lungs tie in, being the first place we receive. I hope that's clear, right? So the first day of acupuncture class. So the lungs are where we receive the world. If we cough, we're rejecting what we just, or sneeze, we're rejecting something. And it maybe so. Maybe we just breathed in some very, very cold air, or some pathogen or something, we want to sneeze it out. That's a pollen perhaps. In any case, the stomach is the next level, Yang Ming. So I'm deliberately tying in with the Shan Han Lung theory that when we get ill from an infectious disease, it would first attack, at least hypothetically, and in my experience, nearly always, first attack the lungs. If we can't fight it off in the nose, the sneezing, the sore throat, setting up a barrier here, maybe the coughing, and it settles down, you know that feeling, oh, yeah. So lungs are the first line of defense. They're also, let's put it a different way, the first line of welcome. So for those of you in relationship, you can assess, like this is Andrew's advice on which you haven't asked for, I get it, I know that, but Andrew's advice on relationship is when you get a hug, right? I mean, this is terrible with the coronavirus, people can't hug each other. So when you get a hug, there's a couple things that happen. We embrace with our arms, which are connected to the heart level, right? Heart, this is where the arms are, okay? That's why they're there. Instead of like bugs where you have arms up and down your torso, we have arms at the heart level. And then, of course, you can have a hug from someone. If they're not intimate, we usually don't even know, but we hold our breath. We're not inhaling. We're not taking in their essence. But if it is an intimate relationship, you're about to get married and here's the hug, and the person holds, your fiance holds their breath. That's not a good sign. This is something we need to look at. I'm not saying that you should run, but But you want to overcome that holding back. A person welcomes the world through their lungs. That's the first way. The second way, and of course you know where I'm going, you're all clinicians, nearly all of you are clinicians here. The second way is in the stomach. That's why I named the book Welcoming Food, which is a rough retranslation, it's a paraphrase of the Chinese medicine term, open the stomach. That's the actual term, to open the stomach. But that doesn't seem like a very elegant or poetic name of a book, Open Your Stomach. So maybe I'm wrong on that. If you think that's a better title, you can cross it out and replace it on your own copy. But in any case, we welcome food into our stomachs. We welcome the world. And so diet is not just about healing illness. Diet is about making a change. It's embracing who we are. Maybe you say, oh, I have Italian heritage and I love Italian food, because of course you do, you should. It tonifies your ancestral lineage, is the term we would use in Chinese medicine, right? It encourages your identity. It's wonderful. You come from, your family comes from another part of the world and you're eating that kind of food, maybe on holidays, if nothing else. This is a good thing. Maybe when you're sick, you think of something that your mother, grandmother, or parents of either gender made for you when you were sick. This is not just good food for your illness, it's food for the heart, it's food for the stomach, it's food for the soul. We all know this. So we eat for all these different reasons, but we have to be very cognizant that we are welcoming the world itself. This is a place we accept the world. And if you want to make a change, send a message there. It goes inside.